One of the questions I get, and it is a repeating question, so I definitely want to address it. It's which coins do you invest in? So we're going to discuss this, and I'm going to give you my thoughts as to why I only focus on Bitcoin. This is going to make some people, I guess, a little bit more confused. I'm aiming to give you more clarity rather than more confusion. If you appreciate that and you think there are people that you know who could appreciate the clarity from my perspective, because there's a lot of different perspectives you can have, and take the perspective of I'm only going to invest in Bitcoin because I understand the technology and the technology is better than everything else, etc., etc. And all those reasons are completely valid. I'm going to give you my reason, and I'm also going to try and help the people who I'm speaking to the most on this YouTube channel understand why focus on Bitcoin is the single most important thing that you can do. And we're going to attack this from several different angles. So if you appreciate that, I would appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel and help me share the message. So if you are somebody who finally understands why you need Bitcoin in your portfolio, if you are somebody who thinks this content needs to be heard by other people, there's only really one thing you can do for me, which is subscribe to the channel. And I guess too, you could also share the video. So I would appreciate that in advance, and thank you in advance for doing that. Now, let's talk a little bit about why I only focus on Bitcoin and not shit coins, as we like to call them lovingly in the Bitcoin community. The way I like to look at it is, what problem is being solved by anything that wants my money and wants my capital? And first, let me frame out what a shit coin is for people who don't understand. A shit coin, anything that's not big. Ethereum is a shit coin, Solana is a shit coin, Doge is a shit coin. Everything that's not Bitcoin is a shit coin. So now that you have that understanding, you know what I'm referring to when I'm speaking. So I have a fundamental question that I ask when I put my money into something, and that is, what problem is this solving? And then the second question, should this problem be solved? And then once I get through those two thought processes, then I can go into evaluating the actual thing that I'm looking at. But those two questions is the most important thing. And they've just not been answered for me when it comes to any of these shitcoins. And I'll tell you why. Coin to me is solving a problem that affects every single person in the world, and it is the underlying problem for everything that we have going wrong in society. Whatever you believe about society, whether you believe that the banks are corrupt, whether you believe that there's all this elite manipulation, whether you believe that, the right is being suppressed, or whether you believe that the rights of the left are being suppressed, or whatever you believe, whether you believe that there's an agenda against men, whether you believe that there is an agenda against women, whatever you believe, it is downstream of the store of value asset that you have as part of the world. And right now, the store of value asset, and this might not make sense, but the store of value asset for the majority of the world is the US dollar. That is the one that stores value for most people. Is it the best? No, absolutely not. But it is the one that stores the value. And everything is downstream of the money that everybody uses. So if you have a society where you can just print a bunch of money, suddenly you start looking for excuses to print a bunch of money. Sure, absolutely, yeah. Let's fund a war somewhere and print a bunch of money. Oh yeah, social justice, cool. Social justice, okay, cool. We've run out of that now. What do we need? We need environmental justice. Okay, cool. The Earth's getting too hot. Oh no, it's getting too cold. Oh no, it's just changing. It's just changing. So we need to stop the Earth changing. So let's print some money to stop the Earth changing. Cool. Oh, now there's all this racial inequality, racial divide. Cool. Print some money. This Secretary of the Treasury is turning around and saying that they will use the money printer to fix racial inequality. Cool. Let's print some money to fix racial inequality. All right, fantastic. Now that we've done that, we run out of that idea. What should we do now? Oh yeah, no, there should be funding if you want to change genders. Sure. Okay. Now let's fund that. Let's do that. Oh, the music. We need to get music into more people's hands because we need a reason to print some money. Okay, cool. Let's make the music as trash as possible. So it just goes out there, and let's just put as much of it out there as possible, just to numb down the population. Let's get them to become consumers. Let's get them to buy stuff on credit, etc., etc. Oh, the men don't borrow as much money as the women. I got a great idea. Why don't we start a women's movement? And then 30 years later, 75% of consumer debt in the United States is owned by women, right? All very charged topics, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. My point is that all of this starts with the system, the money itself. That's the issue. So I believe money has to be fixed. And I believe, and I understand, that Bitcoin is the fix for that. Because the issue with money in the world and the issue with money that corrupts society is that there is an infinite supply of it, and a handful of people get their hands on that access point to the supply, right? They get close to the money printer. And that is a big issue, and Bitcoin fixes that, because you cannot, no matter what you do, move the supply lever. There's two levers. There's the demand lever and the supply lever. With Bitcoin, no matter what happens to the demand lever, you cannot move the supply lever. And that's extremely important. It actually fixes the core underlying issue, which is store of value. Because when you can print a bunch of money and someone goes to work all day, all night, all week, all month, all year, for a decade, for 2 decades, for 3 decades, and all they get at the end of that is, okay, I'm exchanging my physical energy, my physical labor, for currency, and now that currency can be devalued on top of the fact that my wages are not going up to keep up with the amount of printing that's being done here. So I've put my money into a battery. Let's say the size of the battery is this big. I put my money into this battery. I put my currency into this battery. So the currency comes in, gets stored in the battery, right? I start building up. I start building up. I start building up. I get to here, and they increase the capacity of the battery. That's what happens, right? The money gets printed, and the capacity of the battery goes up. So now I thought I had a 50% charge, but now I only have a 25% charge. That is the issue with the amount of money being printed. So you can never do anything. You must spend that money as fast as possible, because otherwise you're going to lose it. It's going to lose its value. This is the issue of inflation and debasement. Bitcoin solves this once and for all. It is solved because you cannot adjust the supply of that battery. And that's extremely important for human beings, because when you are living in a society where I can go and put my physical labor into something and then never ever see the reward of it, you lose the will to work, you lose the will to innovate, you lose the will to succeed, you lose that will to be a human being. And so I think Bitcoin fixes that. Bitcoin is the underlying base layer that fixes that. Yes, it might not be the currency that everyone in the world can use, but you're not using that either, right? You're using US dollars. The world runs on a different currency. The world runs on a different money that's exchanged between central banks. Bitcoin is the central banking layer of this new money. It's not like dollars. The advantage that Bitcoin has is that on the same protocol that everyone can see, you can build on top of that and have all of these different layers that are going to give you the results that you want. So you could build the US dollar on layer 3 of Bitcoin, and then it's fundamentally guarded by the Bitcoin network that everyone can see, everyone can audit every 10 minutes, and it's perfect. So that is that for me is the fundamental underlying reason why I focus on Bitcoin, because that problem affects every single person on earth. I don't care how much you love your monkey pictures or your rock pictures or your ability to send transactions really fast or whatever the hell you care about when you're a shitcoin investor. I don't know. All I know is that this problem is bigger, more important, and actually fixed compared to everything that you think that shitcoin is gonna fix. And here's the other thing. When it comes to the NFT argument and the art argument, right? Let me ask you a question. This is my favorite lighter, right? This is a ST DuPont lighter, has a beautiful ping on it. And I bought this for £1,000, and this is now worth somewhere in the region of $3,500. Maybe not in the used condition that I have it in, but it's worth in that region, right? It's a limited edition ST DuPont lighter. So I bought that in euros, right? I bought that in euros from my friends in the Netherlands. If I fly to the United States and I want to sell that in dollars, Can I? The answer is yes, right? Because it's mine. I physically hold this. And so even though I bought this and paid for it in euros, if I go to the United States, I can sell this in dollars, right? So what has the value? When I say this is worth $3,500, what has the value? Is it the United States dollar that has the value? Or is it this beautiful lighter that was created, this piece of art that was created? What actually has the value? If you're smart, you say this, right? If you're a shitcoiner and you're mentally ill, you'll probably say the US dollar, even though I bought it in euros. So my point is that if you're talking about NFTs on Ethereum, for example, and you have a picture of a monkey that you have paid $100,000 for, there's something there, there's some value there, right? Because someone has paid for that, right? So there is some value there. But my question is, what has the value? Is it the monkey picture or the very real community that's being created as a result of that monkey picture? Or is it Ethereum? I would argue that it's the monkey picture and the community that has been created around that. For some reason, someone thought that it's worth $100,000 to pay for that. So therefore, there must be some perceived value there. Maybe it's not 100,000, whatever. And so you take that idea and you say, why can't the organizers or the owners of that monkey picture conglomerate sell this in Bitcoin? And the truth is they can. If they sent a message out to all of their holders and they said, I want you we have replicated this whole thing because now a new Bitcoin layer has been created and we've replicated this whole thing. I want you to move over to the Bitcoin network. All of that value moves over to the Bitcoin network. Instead of $100,000 worth of Ethereum that you saw as your perceived value, you now see $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, and the world keeps moving forward. Except what happens is that unfortunately you can't airdrop on Bitcoin. So they would have to go buy the Bitcoin and give it to their people in order to do that. You can't do that. You can only do that on shitcoins. So secondly, you have an actual supply constraint, right? You can't just airdrop tokens to people. There was a whole market of just buying tokens early and waiting for an airdrop where they would go get some VC funding and pump out some tokens and print them against their own market liquidity and their own market value. It's just an entire Ponzi scheme scam. Now, getting back to the bigger picture here is if I have a piece of art and I pay for it in one currency, quote unquote, I can then sell it in another currency. So therefore, it's the art that has the value, not the currency. When Ethereum is being looked at like oil, for example, this is what these shitcoiners say. Oh, Ethereum is like oil. You can run things on Ethereum. It's not actually true because you don't, with oil, to run a car, you need oil, right? To sell that piece of art, I don't need Ethereum. It might be the best place, quote unquote, for me to do that right now, but I don't need it. I can move this onto any other chain. And that's what happened to Ethereum. They had a lot of trouble when Solana came out with a much faster and aggressive NFT platform. So my point is this, it's the art that has the value, and trying to imagine that locking it into one chain is the thing that's going to give that chain value. Because if I take this and I've paid for it in euros, and then I go sell it in US dollars, and then that person goes and sells it to someone that gives them British pounds, for example, it's still this that has the value, right? Whereas what these shitcoin chains are trying to do is compete for that position. They're trying to compete for that preeminent position, which leads me on to the next point, which is they're trying to compete for something that has not been fixed yet. So they want me to speculate. They want me to invest in the chain because they believe that one day this problem will get fixed. And this problem is a problem that they perceive as a problem, right? I don't think how you sell your art is a problem. If your art was good enough, people would pay dollars for it, or pounds for it, or Bitcoin for it, right? Which nobody should do. But if your art was good enough, they'd pay in any currency. So why do I need to invest in Ethereum? So what you're telling me is that the utility value of Ethereum is actually a store of value? It doesn't make any sense. The iPhone or the laptop that I'm looking at in front of me right now is today worth less than when I paid for it. Why? Because it is a utility and technology has moved on. Shitcoins are trying to be utilities and trying to tell me that they have store of value effects. If something is a utility, it will go down in value because as competition grows fiercer, it has to come down in value for people to use it. Bitcoin is not a utility. It is a store of value asset at the base layer. It is a central bank asset at the base layer, right? It's just that this is the first time in human history that you can actually own and fully audit every 10 minutes that base layer asset that has ever been available to human history. That is the unique thing about Bitcoin. So I don't see any long-term utility going up in price. Sure, it might have happened over the short term because people said, hey, let me dump all of my real dollars into Ethereum because all these lunatics are going to go crazy over monkey pictures. Sure, that might happen. Absolutely. Just like during the pandemic, my car was worth more than when I bought it 3 years before that. How does that make any sense? Sure, during certain periods of time, that is going to happen. But in the long run, if something is a utility and you're trying to be pitched on a utility, it is going to go down in value, or it's going to go down in price, even if the value goes up. Oil has a tremendous amount of value, but the price has steadily declined against the amount of money that's being printed. So the price will continue to go down of any utility unless it is artificially held up. So then you go back to, if these shitcoins can artificially hold up a price because they've got VC funding, they can do pre-mines, they can helicopter some tokens just to get people excited and force people to keep their tokens locked up like Ethereum did. And Ethereum came out and said, we don't know when we're going to give you your staked Ethereum back. Peace. And you just had to sit there and accept it. You had to sit there and accept this little nerd that can't string together a real sentence while looking somebody in the eyes, turn around and give you a delay of 8 years or whatever he wants to give you on your money being tied up. I don't want to work like that. That is a broken world. That is an extension of the world we already live in, not the new world that Bitcoin is creating. That's why I focus on Bitcoin, because it actually has solved a problem. The problem is store of value. It has actually solved it already, not trying to solve it one day, not looking for a new thing every 4 years to stay relevant, etc., etc. That's the other thing. If you realized, there's always something new. With shitcoins, there's always something new. I don't want to gamble on that. I think the problem that Bitcoin solves is big enough. Store of value affects me, affects a billionaire, affects someone working a corporate job, it affects someone who's working a public service job, it affects somebody who's on the streets. It affects everyone. Bitcoin solves that. These shit coins are trying to solve niche issues without having it being proven, and then they want me right now, because they can get around the securities laws, they want me or my parents to give them money to one day, hopefully this problem gets solved. By the way, we're building a utility which is designed to go down in price. Why would I do that? It doesn't make sense to me. But the biggest reason that I invest and I only focus on Bitcoin is the idea that I want to see a world where everyone can have money that they can control. I don't believe a lot of things should be decentralized, by the way. I'm not that type of Bitcoin maxi. I don't believe that. I don't believe a social network should be decentralized. I think there's a lot of benefit to a centralized system in certain regards. I absolutely do not think that should affect money. I think money should be decentralized, and I think money should be in the control of every single person that wants to have access to it. And every single person that wants to live in a capitalist society should have access to their own money and their own ability to control what happens to their money and their energy. That's the world I want to live in. That's why I focus on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the only one that actually fixes that issue. Everyone else is trying to fix issues that are completely irrelevant. They are downstream extensions of the current world and the financial oppression that we live in for the last 230 years based on the central banking systems that we've generated. That is not the world that I think is important to invest in. If you are investing in a shitcoin that's trying to create access to investment abilities to all a wide number of people, because this is what the BS they come out with, if that's what you are doing, you are missing the point. We are trying to actually fix the system first. I'm all for speculation. I'm not the type of Bitcoin max that says, oh no, this is all just shit. No, speculate. Do it on Bitcoin. Because when you have a base layer that is common sense, all the BS will get weeded out much quicker than in a system where you can just print unlimited amounts of money. How do I know that? Because that's the damn system that we live in. And that's what Bitcoin fixes. That's why I focus on Bitcoin. That's why I don't care about shitcoins. I don't think they fix a big enough problem. I don't think they have the ability to pivot and fix a big enough problem. I want something that's proven. I want something that's solid. I want something that everyone in the world acknowledges. This is the problem that this fixes. And that is Bitcoin. There is nothing else that has that. There is nothing else that does that. That is, I don't focus on shitcoins. I have no interest in shitcoins. I used to have an interest in arguing with shitcoiners. I don't, because here's why. You believe that you can fix the existing system is designed to fool you. I don't. I don't believe in politics. I don't believe in the fiat system. I don't believe in none of that. Yeah, I have opinions, but I don't focus on any of that. Fix the money first. That is the message. Not try and invest in something that's going to give me the ability to trade monkey pictures. It doesn't feel worthwhile. How does your soul even feel satisfied focusing on that? It is pointless. The quote unquote, it's not even a crusade anymore because the war is already won. Bitcoin has actually fixed the problem that affects the most people in the world. And you're focused on trading monkey pictures and owning shit in games. You got to look at yourself in the mirror, look yourself deep in the eyes, and wonder whether that is the best use of your time or not, or whether you should be helping people understand that they can actually finally control their money. They can actually finally control their energy. They can actually finally dictate what happens to their future, because we have not been able to do that for 230 years. And Bitcoin finally fixes that problem, and you want to focus on bullshit? I wish you the best of luck, but my focus is going to be very simple. It's 3 steps, and if you agree with these 3 steps, I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel and share the video. But the 3 steps that I'll be focused on while you're sitting there nerding out on your little monkey pictures, rock pictures, or your Web3 game development, etc., is step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy. Have a beautiful Sunday.